When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel.
Well, excuse me!
Looking for good ideas for life? You're far from good hands.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
If you think the listener is always right, you're far from the right place.
Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works!
Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, but a rebel by choice.
Are you threatening me?
If you want a host that floats between love and madness,
and we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite, looking forward to a little afternoon delight.
then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Within the gaming world, there are your general gamers, but then there are those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming. If you're one of those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming, we certainly got the place to send you. Scorpion Lair Games. That's right, Scorpion Lair Games is the creators of the true crime hit Killers, the card game. Let's not forget they also have Killers Clothing Company, their profiler game, and things like the 5-Minute Murder channel on YouTube. And we certainly can't forget the new book that is certainly a hit, Beyond the Headliners, True Crimes, Myths, and Legends. Make sure you visit Jeff and the Scorpion Lair Games on Facebook and everywhere today. Also want to give a quick thank you to our friends over at Ultra Pro, who is the leading manufacturer and supplier of sports, comics, and memorabilia storage. Whether it be card cases, sleeves, top loaders, or travel gear, you name it. We are also going to be working with Ultra Pro in the next few months to do some special giveaway packages for the holiday season coming up in a few months, so stay tuned. Make sure you check them out at ultrapro.com.
Hey everybody, this is Steve, Uncle Creepy Barton, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio.
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this next guest you have heard on our outlets in some form or fashion. Poor bastard, coming back for more punishment.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
But he is certainly someone you need to pay attention to, as you need to do yourself a favor and buckle up for this ride. And make sure you keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times, as many of our listeners would know this next guest as the king of horror films.
And that's the bottom line.
And he's got a new book coming out in December. And yes, you can pre-order now on Amazon and at all the usual suspects. A Comedy of Tragedies, the book is called. So let's go ahead and welcome back Steve Uncle Creepy Barton. Steve, how the hell are you doing?
Hey, man. Thank you so much. Those are very, very kind words. I'm truly not sure befitting of me, but I'll take it because why not, right?
Exactly. And I want to bring up that I'm not driving this train alone, which is probably a good thing, as she brings some levity to things around here, and that is Miss Latrice Carter, since she does her own show out of Texas, which some folks may have heard before, called Horror Movie Warriors. Hello, Latrice.
Hey.
Hello. How are you?
Thanks for joining, as I had asked you last minute to jump on board here, so thank you.
Of course.
You
Anything
know,
for you, Jonathan.
I appreciate that, ma'am. And it's funny, I just heard my phone buzz as we're getting started here, and it was a text from another friend from the horror world, Miss Holly Fields. Folks know her from Wishmaster 2 and a few other projects. And Holly, obviously I won't put your personal business out there, but I wish you well with everything that's going on. Love you, and you've always been good to me. But the reason we're here, a comedy of tragedies. And Steve, as you know, we're going to bounce around and shoot the shit. And I joke about drinking as I pour myself a drink. Go figure. With the book as it is, what's it like to have put pen to paper or typed it out on a computer and that people are going to see the ins and outs of you except the size of certain body parts, if you will?
You know, it's a good question. It really wasn't my intention to do it all, to be honest with you. I mean, I was more or less trying to do the psychological thing, you know? And I mean, everybody has demons. My story is not unique. And I've had them rattling around inside my head for my entire life. So I had always heard that getting them out, a good way to do that is to write them down and then burn the motherfucker. And I was ready to burn the motherfucker, you know? And life happened. I wrote half the book over the course of 2 years. And then my life exploded again, as it does time and time again, which is okay because it brings on new adventures. I'm very thankful for all that, all the bad stuff, you know, because it helped to make me who I am. But, you know, one day I was sitting here working and my wife came over, Danielle, and she's like, "Hey, that book you started writing, can I read it?" And I was like, "What the fuck for? You married me. You know everything, you know?" And she's like, "Well, I'm just curious." So I sent her what I had written, and she disappeared for a few hours. And I would hear her every now and then going, either laughing or sniffling. And I'm like, fuck, is it that bad? You know, I mean, I don't know what this is because I didn't really write it to be read. You know, I wrote it to get it out. And she came downstairs a few hours later, having finished what I had written, I should say. And she's like, "You can't burn this. You have to finish this." And I was like, "Well, why?" She goes, "Because some of the things you talk about are so relatable, and they have a chance to be able to read like and help somebody, you know, and just it could actually help somebody." I know I'm phrasing this really poorly, but it's been a long weekend, and I didn't know what to make of that, you know, and I thought about it, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna finish it. And it took another 2 years, and it's ridiculously up to date. I mean, the last thing I wrote was last March of 2024. And there it is, and it's really weird because I didn't intend for anybody to know this stuff about me. But then again, I also have nothing to hide either, and I wrote this book in the most graphic detail I could remember because I wanted to get those moments of my life that weren't so pleasant out of my system. And to me, the only way I could do that was to write down every single little detail. And once I finished the book, it never really finishes, but I went back and I retooled slightly a little bit of it. I made it so that it could be read, but as I was writing it, I'm a storyteller, man. It's what I do. I wrote it to tell my story, and I was entertaining myself along the way by not only revisiting the really bad shit, but also the good stuff, And it was very cathartic, and it really was cathartic. And I was ready to self-distribute it, because listen, autobiographies are a niche market at best. And it to me, it almost seems kind of egotistical. Like, you write your own life story. What makes you think you're so interesting that anyone's going to want to read about it, And I don't do ego. So it was kind of hard for me on that respect. But I one of my friends, Josh Milliken, who took over for me at Dread Central when I left, and man, was that a story. He
But go ahead.
he Josh was one of those few people that took what I did and tried to honor it and keep my direction and my way of doing things going. And I'll always be grateful to him for that. And he had put out several books with this company called Encyclopocalypse. And he read the book because he asked if he could read it. And I was like, well, sure. Can I get a quote? Because, that's what you want to do. You want to fill your cover with quotes from people. Hopefully they like it or they don't like it. If he gave me a negative quote, I still would have used it because that's just in line with how I am. This book sucks. I'd be the first one to put that on the cover. And he read it and he was like, this is fucking good. And I was shocked. I was like, because he was like the first one to really read it outside of Danielle and the guy Scott Johnson, good friend of mine, Scott Johnson. As I was writing, he was taking the pages and making sure my grammar was right because I was just going. I mean, I'm a grammar Nazi, but I knew I couldn't catch everything in a project this big. So he and Danielle and Josh were the only ones who had actually read the whole thing. And he was like, I have to put you in touch with my publicist. My publisher. And I was like, all right, man, whatever. And, I spoke to the people over at Encyclopocalypse, and their first like thought was like, yes, we want it. Let's do this. And I'm like, well, did you read it? And he was like, well, no, but you wrote it, so let's put it out. And that in and of itself is a huge compliment, But I was like, well, I think you better read it first, because it is different. And it does, this isn't Uncle Creepy just sitting there telling Hollywood stories. This is all of it. I mean, that stuff is in there. The last half of the book probably is a ton of industry stuff. And 2 weeks passed and they got back to me and they're like, okay, now we really have to put this book out. And I was like, you sure? And now they wanted it, man. So I'm like, well, okay, here we go. Right. And that was it. And it's been an unnerving process, knowing that in a few months, like, everyone's going to know everything that ever happened to me, everything in my youth, everything with Terrifier, everything. And it's scary. But again, I never ever lied to anybody, or I never had anything to hide. I'm one of the few people, I'm very proud of this, that was able to earn my way to where I've gotten, and do it the right way without fucking anybody and without lying and cheating and whatever else. I think I even say in the book, I never ever found a shortcut that was worth taking, you know. So I've done everything the hard way, and it's gotten to me where I am, and I have a lot of people to thank for getting me through so much of that shit. And I think I did it. I mean, you read it. What do you think?
I'll put it this way, from everything I read and whatnot, and this is based on the few times I've dealt with you, as we dealt with each other a few times on social media, virtually like this, in a conversation for a few different episodes like this, or a watch along. But going through what I read, I could hear your voice in telling the stories. And Steve is certainly a New York born and bred guy. And as a Northeast guy, he is certainly as honest as one could be. And this is certainly his truth in the book. The good, the bad, the ugly. Steve tells his story, like you said, through March of this year. But you tell it as it is from your perspective. Before you had to cut through things off in March of 2024 to go through the process, etc. But the entire time going through, I enjoyed reading it, but it was more of that I can hear your voice telling the stories, which made it more entertaining for me.
Thank you. I think that, it's funny too, because a lot of people are like, well, you're reading the audiobook version, right? And I'm like, well, fuck no. There's a lot of reasons why I'm not reading the audiobook version. I mean, number one, I fucking wrote it, so I got to do all the work, And, and number two, in order to do some of those moments in my life that had such power and gravity, I had to put myself back into places I never wanted to go again, in hopes that I could forever shut the door on them, And I think I was successful in doing that. I've had people write me and tell me that they were sobbing and laughing all in one paragraph, and the story seems to be touching people, and people are getting it, and they are relating to it. And it's, if the book can help one person, I don't care if it sells thousands of copies. I've never done anything in my life to get rich. I've done everything in my life I've ever done out of passion, because that's who I am. And when I said to George Romero one time, because he and I had become such good friends, and we would talk all the time, and he would say to me, he gave me all sorts of advice, man, and I miss the guy dearly. But one day, I jokingly said to him, but I was being serious. I'm like, George, you are my mentor, right? You know this. And he's like, of course I'm your mentor. You're fucking broke.
I'm going to let Latrice ask a question here in a second. But it's funny when you bring up Romero, and I was going to bring it up, and you mention it in the book. There are some ways that George may have actually raised you, because there's a story in particular in the book. When you first saw the movie, you woke your parents up, da-da-da-da-da. I don't want to give the whole thing away, because we want people to get and read the book. But I say it with 12 years of experience in doing what I've done here on this platform, and have had certain growth, etc. And you joke about it within your 31 years in the business and such. But you gotta pinch yourself, as I joked earlier about Holly texting me, or this one reaches out, or one being a good buddy of yours, Kane Hodder, will text. And there's a story I often tell about Kane. But Latrice, what did you want to bring to the table?
Well, I don't have any questions, but I do have like a comment. How you said that if you help one person, and I really believe that. I believe that we are on this earth to help people. And if you had, a life lived where you can help somebody, I think you should do it. And I'm so glad that you are doing that.
Thank
And
you.
it kind of reminds me of Stephen King, because I remember reading that Stephen King actually threw the book Carrie away, and it was his wife Tabitha who got it out the trash.
Right. That's
And us wives, we know, man. We just know.
I make no bones about it, man. The female of the species, way smarter than we are. I can be distracted by jingling keys in my face. I'm like, oh, pretty, So, I mean, if it was to me, I'd be playing video games all day, and it's zero.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's my hubby too. He's a video game comic book guy.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, listen, there's been a lot of triumphs in my life, and there's been a lot of tragedies, and I tried to take both of them and balance them in a way. I write. I'm not a writer, man. I never was a writer.
But he's part of the Writers Guild for some reason. I don't know.
That story is almost in there. I never considered myself a writer. I write very much like I speak. I like you said, you could hear my voice when you were reading it. And I think, as weird and as strange as that book is, because literally there's fucking everything in there. The most unbelievable situations anybody could ever find themselves in. Everything from fucking mediating elderly wrestling to fucking meeting George Romero to being a featured zombie to changing the rules of the horror industry several times, And it's all written with a grin. I don't like making people sad. I don't like seeing people sad. So everything I write, or every word that comes out of my mouth, there's always going to be a punchline for it later, because I grew up not happy, and getting rejected by the people that you are supposed to love you the most. That shit takes a toll, and it always made me feel awkward. And I discovered at a really early age that I could make people happy by just being funny and putting stuff in certain ways. And that's very much my defense mechanism. It's how I cope with adversity. But another thing about it is I wouldn't change anything, man. I wouldn't go back and do anything different than exactly how I did it, because all of it got me here. And for the first time in probably forever, I actually kind of like me, And I'm thankful that I have a platform in which people, for whatever fucking reason, have a habit of listening to me and taking what I say to heart and applying it. So I think once you read the book, the title of it makes perfect sense, because it's exactly what it is. But it's what everybody's life is. And you could either cry about the shit, or you could try to find some humor in it and build yourself back up. Personally, I relish the chaos. I like the times when I've been knocked down. I'm on my ass right now. It's okay. It's these times that when you're just down, man, and you feel like the world has just whipped your ass for the fucking 8,000th time. It's the choices that you make during those times.
Amen.
and how you
Amen.
react to it when you stand back up and you look at the walls and you say to yourself, how the fuck do I climb out of this one? That's going to define your character. It's going to define who you are, and it's going to define who you become. And you can either let it get you or you could fight back. And I've been fighting back for 5 fucking decades. And the only really thing I would change, but I don't understand if it even could be changed, is I always felt very alone, you know? And I literally created things to feel like I could belong somewhere. And it was tough. So if anything, I wish that I could have found a way to like not feel so alone all the time. But then again, that alone time really gave me the introspection to look at my life and see the events that were happening in it and learn to react to it. Hopefully in a positive way, not always, but we all make mistakes. But a mistake is only a mistake if you don't fucking learn from it. So you got to make the mistakes. It's the only way that you can overcome whatever is thrown at you in rapid fire succession sometimes. So I'm hoping with the book that people can read it and realize that they're not alone, you know, that there are people out there that have
Like
either
them.
lived through this shit that seems fucking unsurmountable and gotten out the other side. And it's not easy to feel that way when you don't know. So hopefully if someone reads the book and they're at the end of their fucking rope, maybe they'll reach for another length of it, you know, and pull themselves back up, because there's always another piece of rope. It's just seeing the shit is a fucking bitch sometimes, you know.
It's funny because you mentioned that in the book.
If you can send Patrice, by the way, just send it to her.
We were actually talking about that beforehand, but I think about someone you mentioned in the book. But before I go back to someone we mentioned previously here, you had mentioned Macho Man Randy Savage in the book.
Oh, yeah!
And there might have been a family member imitating him sleeping, the whole bit. But you said something about rope there. And there's always another piece of rope. And I always think of that line that Randy would say. And that is, the only way you're out of the game is if you take yourself out of the game. And folks, I'm not saying things like suicide or anything like that, but there's always some way to fix the usual issues unless you take yourself completely out of the situation.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people forget sometimes is anything can be fixed if you just communicate with each other, you know, and talk it out. It doesn't have to be fucked up. You know, we're responsible for shit that gets fucked up. Even if it's not our fault, it's up to us how we react to it. You know what I mean? We can let it fucking eat at us, or we could try to do something about it. And to do something about it, all it really takes is communication. And if everybody, unfortunately, would just take a tenth of the time that they spend literally shit talking each other and just try to help each other, it would be such a better fucking place, man. I'm sorry this interview is so serious. I just, I don't normally give serious interviews. I'm usually, you know, Mr. on my A game fucking saying outrageous shit. But it's kind of hard to talk about the book because it's my life. And I'm putting my life out there for people to read about and judge, you know? And that is fucking terrifying. It really, really is. But I haven't gotten a bad review yet or a bad reaction. So amen to that, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I sent, as we were, or Steve was responding there, I sent a picture on Facebook to him privately because we mentioned Kane Hodder. And Kane is a trip in more ways than we can talk about.
He truly is.
The picture was from Hatchet 2. And how do I put this? Because I told the story a couple times. but I was actually having a conversation with R.A. Mihailov, who,
Mhm.
yeah, Texas Chainsaw, and was in Hatchet, the same Hatchet you were in, Part
Mhm.
Two, and other projects, stunt guy, actor, the whole nine yards. So anyway, we're talking, and Kane had gotten hurt on that set, and I can't remember if it was his bicep, tricep. It's been told that he tore something in his arm, one of them.
Yeah.
And I go, we're sitting here. Did he tear it? Did he fix it? We're me and RA, like, nonsense, going back and forth like little kids. So what do I do? All right, we got to get an answer to this. Text Kane. Hey, what actually happened here? And the picture I sent to Steve is with the lovely response, and you will totally get this. He goes, "What the fuck you think I did?"
Yeah.
With this big ass bruise, and it's like, "Yep, that's 100% Kane. Thank you, sir."
I've known Kane, God, almost my entire career now. Fuck, we're getting old. And
No, it's just Kane getting old.
no, unfortunately, it's all of us. I think
I'm getting younger. I'm
we missed
getting
a
younger.
memo or some shit, dude. There was a meeting that happened we didn't like fucking show up to, apparently. Um, I've known Kane forever, and like last year, I introduced him to my wife, and he looked at her, and he looked at me, and he looked back at her, and he goes, "You really need to evaluate your life choices."
Again, sounds like him.
Yeah,
100%.
I can't disagree with him. I have a beautiful wife. I don't know how that happened, but it's crazy, man. This whole thing has just been nuts, and I'm grateful for every moment of it. I really am.
Oh, absolutely. One of your other, I guess, heroes, but a mentor as well. And there is crazy ass stories in the book as well about this guy. Steve's laughing because he knows I'm probably telling the truth with this, just maybe
Yeah.
a little bit. Is Sid Haig,
Yes.
and I only had the opportunity to say hello. Somebody introduced me briefly in passing. Seemed like a nice enough guy, but there wasn't time to chat in that moment. But I felt good vibes about the guy.
Right.
But everything I read in the book was absolutely, piss your pants laughing. And I could see that happening.
One of the things, like, listen, I had George Romero and Sid Haig mentoring me throughout my career. Who's luckier than I was? I mean, it's like, it literally is like having Bigfoot deem you cool enough to know he exists. That I could call these fucking legends on the phone or hang out with them and ask for advice and have them listen to me. And I get the honor of listening to them. And they imparted a lot of wisdom on me, man. And I try to share that whenever I can because I take that so seriously. And I know how lucky I was to have them in my life. So, what I wanted to do when writing about stories about them, I wanted to try to introduce people to the other side of them, the side that I knew, you know, and let them humanize these larger than life figures and realize who they really were and how they really were. The best thing about George and Sid, and they were exactly the same in this respect, was they never thought of themselves as legends. They thought of themselves as whatever, like you and I, and they taught me a lot about how to treat people and, more importantly, how to expect to be treated. And I'm sure you could tell by the book, I've told many a person in many positions to go and fuck themselves because I know what I'm worth,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say that in an egotistical fashion. I just know what my abilities are. At this point in my life, I'm 52. I'm pretty acquainted with all the tools in my toolbox. You know what I mean? So I know what I could do. I know what I do best. I know where I fail. I know shit that I'm not good at, and what I do when I encounter a situation that I'm not 100% confident in, I happily, happily surround myself with people who do know that particular area, and I fucking listen. One of the most important things they both taught me was know when to shut your fucking mouth and listen, you know? And it everything they've ever taught me, I use every day. Right now, I'm pretty sure both of them would be kicking my ass one cheek after the next, you know? But that's okay because they know I would always get over it, you know? And it is what it is, man. Life happens, but that's what's cool about it, you know? You never know what's going to happen. There are jump scares sometimes. Shit don't always work out the way that you think it's going to work out, as evidenced by what I told you I didn't want to talk about in this interview, you know?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's you just have to react to that stuff. And you just have to not be afraid of it. Just deal with it head on. Don't compartmentalize it because it's not going to go away. You know, it's going to be there. So you have to fucking work with it, man. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, you have to use your head and try to work it out in here so you can be at peace in here.
Yeah. And, it's funny. I'm not going to get into said topic, but I will tell you when Steve messaged me and said, "Hey, can we avoid X and Y?" Yeah, nope, no problem. And I said, it was a relief on my end because for at least X, I'll say this. I know multiple parties involved. Well enough to know to go, you know what? It made me uncomfortable. It's like, how the hell am I gonna? Oh, but when he said, "Can we avoid?" Absolutely cool. Move on. Right? I was like, oh, it was such a relief.
Well, I have
But
a multitude of reasons.
but no, I know, I get that.
For one, I don't want to give away the ending of the book.
Yeah.
And number two, it's just not the right time yet.
Yeah.
I mean, down the road when the book releases, that's the right time.
Then we
That's
can.
At that point, I have no choice. It's fair game. But right
Yeah.
now, there are things going on that I don't want to hurt in any way. I don't want negativity to come to that, much to my probably stupidity sometimes. But it's just not the right time. So everyone I've agreed to do an interview with, I've told them I don't want to talk about the last two chapters. Everything else is fair game, which means that everybody watching this, when they get the book, is immediately going to go to the last two chapters. But I would ask you not to do that. Take the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Take the ride. You'll understand the impact of it all. The more you know, and I just want people to make their own opinion, draw their own conclusions. It's not me to tell anybody, well, you need to understand this is what happened and blah, blah, blah. No, people need to make their own choices, man. And I don't want to take that away from them.
Yeah. Anyway, don't want to harp on that, obviously. It's funny because one of the people that you become, I guess, friendly with, I don't know where that particular relationship stands off the top of my head. And well, first I want to mention Adrienne Barbeau, lovely lady,
Love.
One of the most eloquent women that I've got to come across in doing this. But Ashley Lawrence, people know her from Hellraiser 1 and 2 specifically, but done a few other things. Are you surprised she hasn't become a bigger star? Because I would think she would fit in that screen queen mold, whether it's a Jamie Lee Curtis and Heather Langenkamp and even currently Lauren Lavera.
I think, are we talking about Ashley?
Yeah. Do you think Ashley should have been bigger than what obviously she's loved in the horror world.
Ashley is a tremendous actor. She really is. She is one of those people that when she takes on a role, she gives her all to it. And she's also very particular about the roles she takes. And she should be. A lot of people go to make a quick paycheck, and that's not fucking knocking anybody. We're all trying to make a living here, you know. But she I respect her for it. She only takes the roles she really wants, and I think that really boils down to your definition of success. You know, my definition of success is a little bit different than anybody's. Uh, you know, people think like money or fame or this or that, that's your definition of success, and I don't believe that. I believe that when I go to bed at night, if I could put my head on the pillow and know that I've done everything that I could do this day to the best of my ability, that's success. You know, you have to be successful and present for yourself so you could be successful and present for the people who need you. You know, and to me, that is my definition. You know, somebody in another podcast I had just done recently, they took a look at the stuff behind me and they're like, "Oh wow, what's your favorite thing to collect?" And it's none of this. It's memories, it's connections, it's the time you spend with other people and what you get out of that and what you bring to it. You know, we're all fucking the same, man. It doesn't matter what our differences are. Thank God there are differences. If we were all the same, the world would be fucking boring. But you don't have to be so different that you draw a line in the sand instead of inviting somebody just to come past it so you can enjoy each other for a while. You know? That's,
Amen.
I grew up I was very lucky. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. It was a very mixed neighborhood, you know. All my friends were white, black, Puerto Rican, and or Spanish, Indian, whatever they were. But to me, while that may have been their nationality or their heritage, to me they were just my friends. You know, you don't have to you don't have to buy into anything. If you say to somebody, "Well, I've got plenty of gay friends, or I got plenty of Jewish friends, or black," can't you just have friends?
Friends.
What does it fucking matter?
Yeah, right.
Talk, you know? And thankfully, growing up in Brooklyn in such a mixed neighborhood, I had the luxury to, and I do believe it's a luxury to never really label people. There are only two types of people in this world, and I'm this is proven to me every day. You're either an asshole or you're not.
Yeah.
There's only two kinds. It doesn't. Everything else is
Basically.
you know. So I was able to learn that at a very young age, and being that I was pretty much fucking on the street from typical Gen Xer, left the house at fucking 10 in the morning, didn't come home till 3 in the morning. You know, I got to I learned so much fucking shit from just other people, not just teachers. I've had teachers in my life. There's this one gentleman named Doug Blancero, who I kind of credit with saving my life several times, you know? And I don't know, I just always I wanted to enjoy other people. I never wanted to, I want to hang and just enjoy your life and enjoy the time that you spend with the people around you, regardless of who or what they are. When they open their mouth, if they talk all fucking stupid, it tells you everything you need to know about them. So when somebody comes up to me and I'm having a conversation, all of a sudden they start fucking talking at the left side of their fucking mouth, I know I'm thankful, because then I know exactly how much attention I need to pay to the person.
To them. Yep.
You know? And then I could just go away and find the people I really want to be around.
You know, it's funny with that particular topic. I go with it. I think Latrice can justify this or confirm it, but I tend to like to be around people that I can sit and have a drink with in a conversation, or sit and have dinner with, or, just and be two people. And I'd rather keep it as relaxed as possible and stuff, because I'm not going to give this one particular person attention. But I was going to try to meet Steve at a convention. We'll talk conventions in a second, locally to us, Monster Mania. But there was a little hubbub, and I just got so pissed off. I'm like, Steve, I'm sorry, I'm out before I get myself into trouble. All right, I know myself well enough to, what, I'm better to walk away now than cause a bigger scene. But what is it for you? And you've been around them in different versions of yourself, whether it was from Dread Central to Terrifier Producer to Fangoria Message Board King to, just the different evolutions you've had. But what is it like for you hanging out at the convention scene? Because I know Latrice goes to conventions in Texas as well. So.
I do.
What's that like for you over the years, being around our people, essentially?
Even though I've had several career permutations,
Incarnations was the word I was thinking of.
There's only been one version of me. I'm the same motherfucker I was when I was 25, and I don't consider horror fans just fans. I consider everyone my peers. When I get done at a convention, whether I'm doing panels or signing or whatever the fuck it might be, I don't go up to the room. I don't go to where the cool party is. I go to hang out where the fans are, because that's where I feel most comfortable, And there's nothing more fucking humbling in the world to me than when somebody's actually happy to see me or just wants to sit down and bullshit with me. I am so accessible. I make myself so fucking accessible to everyone. And I wouldn't have it any other way. That's who I am. You see, I didn't luck into anything, I worked for it. And I remember what it took to get me here. And I remember that there were plenty of times in my life where I was just like, if somebody could just fucking talk to me and give me a hand and show me how to interact and do what you want to do, fucking, I would have killed for that. So I try to be that person for everybody. Someone asks me a question, I will sit down and give them the most detailed answer I possibly can, just to make sure I'm giving them the respect that they're showing me by being happy that I'm there, and that's important to me. I wouldn't change anything. I will always be a fan. This isn't like a job to me. This is just who I am. It's in my blood. It's where I come from. It's where I'll die. It's important to me to be genuine and to be real and to have people be able to approach me. And one of the things I learned from George and Sid, those cats, man, they would sign from fucking the second the fucking convention opened until the last possible minute. I would see George stay 2 hours after a convention closes just to make sure everyone got a signature. And everyone had a good experience. George and Sid, they wouldn't just, it wasn't an assembly line to them. They would talk to whomever, they would engage them. They made every fan that came to their table feel like the most important person in the room. And I just think it's very important to do that and to be that person, because that's what a lot of people remember, You never know. I don't know when I'm going to see you again. I don't know if I'm ever going to meet Latrice. I want this moment to be special, So there's nobody that comes to my table when I'm signing. Number one, fuck, I'm signing? That's insane. but there's nobody that comes to my table that doesn't have a good time, that doesn't leave without a smile on their face. And that shit is important to me, you know? And so to be at a convention, it's like being, you feel like a fucking rock star because there's no other way to really describe it. But this rock star, when he's done doing his show, he jumps right into the pit, man, because that's where he belongs, and that's where I belong.
I just remembered. Sorry, Latrice, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, are you a hugger? Because I'm a hugger.
Oh, I'm
and
a hugger.
I would love to give you a hug.
I'm a hugger, and I have a T-shirt. One of my friends, Stacy Lynn S., she's this amazing effects artist, and she actually recreated my zombie makeup that I wore in Survival of the Dead for a signing I was doing. And she was at a movie theater like when Alien Romulus had just come out. I wanted those fucking popcorn head things, but they didn't have, the alien head popcorn topper.
Yeah.
And she went back to the theater to see if she can get me one, but they were of course sold out and they weren't for sale around me. And well, what does she do? She goes out and she buys me an alien T-shirt of a face hugger that just says "I'm a hugger," and that's amazing to me, dude. When someone gives me something, I keep that shit like it's a fucking gold bar. My friend Eric Yellowitzer, he's a vendor. At the last show, he gave me 2 fucking grape flavored Tootsie Roll pops. I still have them because he gave them to me.
Oh yeah, I have a friend out in Michigan who sent me some cupcake decoration sprinkles decorations, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I got she gave me some sprinkles and some like decorative itty bitty horror faces. And yeah, I said, well, this will do just fine because we're actually going to make Rice Krispie treats, like probably the weekend of Halloween. So, and I'm like, those sprinkles I'm going to refrigerate them and I'm going to use them.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I'm not used to this whole fucking appreciation thing that's like going on in my life right now, like when I was doing my thing for like the last 30 years, man, I didn't hear about anything unless I fucked up somehow, and now I go to these shows and it's dawning on me that people were actually fucking paying attention and watching and appreciating it.
Oh.
I just had
after your book comes out, you'd better get used to it because I think people are going to appreciate you even more.
Your lips to God's ears, my dear.
Hold on, where is it? I'm trying to reach for it. Damn it, because it was something Steve's involved in. I'm a big physical media guy. That cabinet's over there. But I just remembered putting everything together when I got home from the football game. There was a little project that you were a co-writer on in
producer. A producer.
And well, I know you did some writing too. They asked if I remember. A little bit. Daniel and those guys all did the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But what's it like being a part of things like that? Because it's in telling the history, because some would say, and I would agree, that you are a walking horror encyclopedia.
It's weird because listen, you can ask me what fucking 7 times 6 is, and I'll count on my fingers and toes.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask me where Friday the 13th Part 2 was filmed, and I'll tell you Kent, Connecticut, and I don't know why I know that, but I do. And I remember one time, this isn't in the book because if I ever do a sequel, it'd probably go in that one. I remember one time my mom said to me, because when I was a little kid, man, I didn't have like the regular room. I didn't have sports stars or cars or even women or anything like that on my walls. I had Freddie and Leatherface and Jason and the Tall Man and Pumpkinhead, and I would dip my hands in fake blood and put little fucking handprints all over my walls. And my mom,
I can't see that going well, just having read the book.
my mom, it went fine. She never, my mom, this is as close to she ever came to trying to persuade me to do or love something else. She said to me, you know, Steve, this is wonderful. And I'm glad you found something that you love, but you also may want to thinking about putting some of that energy to a profession where you could actually make money and support yourself. Well, hi, mom. I kind of did it, you know? It's life is weird, man. You know, everyone tells people all the time, and I heard it my whole life, you're never gonna be anything. You're you're not special. You're not fucking you can't do it. You're not good enough. And that's bullshit. And the people who say stuff like that to you are just people who forgot how to dream, became complacent, and then settled for what they are. There is nothing you can't do. The only limitations you have on your life are the ones you put on.
Right.
No one else. You don't have to adhere to a motherfucking thing. You chase what you want because that's when you're going to feel most alive, you know? Mm-hmm. And when I'm doing a convention or working on a project or writing something, that's when I feel most alive. And now I'm on a completely different side of the spectrum where I'm feeling alive in other areas that I never had before. You know, now it's the only time I'm socially awkward, you know, because I just don't know what to do. I have a family now. Like, mm-hmm. I have a wife, I have in-laws, I have grandkids, I have kids. I'm a stepdad, grandpa, whatever the fuck. Who said that was okay? But it's given me something I never knew I was missing, you know? And I'm starting to feel alive just having people around me I could depend on, which is the most fucking alien thing in the world to me. Let me tell you, because I learned at a very young age that help was not coming, that I am my backup plan. In me, I trust, because no one else was there to do it.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny at the convention scene. I saw you briefly up at New Jersey HorrorCon in Edison. Because I went up to, I was talking with like Felissa Rose, who you know is one of the sweetest ladies on earth. And
yes,
of course, my buddy Adam Marcus, etc. And Adam says to me, he saw across the room because Steve was positioned in the middle. And I was talking to Felissa a few days prior, and she said, she knows I like the bourbon and the whiskey. So she says to me, you better bring something to drink for us to have. I didn't get to stick around and have, but yeah, no problem. Brought my favorite stuff up. Adam happened to be looking across the room and see the transaction happen. And I just said, here you go. Here's a gift, all that for later on. Made a smart ass comment to you going by or whatever about it. And
I remember.
Yeah. So Adam says, gives me one of these. He goes, what's up? He goes, did you just pass along what I thought you did? Yeah. It wasn't, it was a bottle of whiskey, folks. It wasn't anything. He goes,
this was the same day that Felissa did a fucking in-costume appearance from the ending of Sleepaway Camp. So yeah.
Oh, that's a whole nother. Oh, he kept with that where she caught a bunch of shit with the. You know, it's part of what the movie was, folks. You know, for what the costume she had on was like a one-piece suit with the thingamajig and 80s bush. We'll put it that way. It is what it is.
Shit, dude, I got pictures of me simulating blowing her. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it is what it is. But so Adam goes after he goes, did I just see what I saw? I said, yeah. Why? He goes, and all Adam's way of doing things goes, I can't see that ending well. Dude, you're probably right, but I got to keep my word.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? It's like, if I tell somebody something, I'm going to do it.
Right.
But, it's funny. We were talking about experiences, and I want to wrap with a couple rapid fire questions. I'm stealing a gimmick from Peter Anthony. Peter, I love you, buddy. But I thought it was a cool gimmick. But I know, yeah, if you're going to steal from somebody, make it better. No, but Pete, I love you, buddy. I won't do that. I won't call you. Yeah, I won't call you the nickname that Kane calls you, because I know it.
He's entirely too smart and entirely too good looking.
Yeah, makes the rest of us feel bad.
It all. Brains, beauty. Fuck. Go ahead.
That bastard. Yeah, it makes it. No, I won't go there, but Pete, we love you, buddy. So where was I going to go with that? Shit. That quickly. I'm like the circus monkey with the cymbals, time.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, the rapid fire. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Latrice.
You that rapid, I got to tell you, I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah. So let's see. Ice Nine Kills or Docking for music?
I think I got to go with Docking, man. I'm sorry. I like Ice Nine Kills, but you can't fuck with Dream Warriors, man. Come on.
I got an acoustic set I'm going to send you of that song. Favorite horror or Halloween themed song?
I'm going to go old school, man. The Monster Mash. Just fucking love it. It's so kitschy, and Boris Karloff. And, it was one of those formative things for me, man. It's like, that's part of I love the grisly and scary parts of the genre, but I also love the fun parts and the goofy parts. And that really encapsulated that moment in genre history when that particular song came out. So when I think fun Halloween songs, I automatically think the Monster Mash.
Go-to horror film. Right on. Go-to horror film if you're having a bad day, whether you've seen a movie 1,000 times or one time.
Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Nice. If given the death penalty, what's your last meal and beverage request?
Ooh, that's a good one. You know what? I want a pack of Twizzlers and a Diet Coke. And send my ass to Valhalla. Whatever.
Last question, if hell were to exist, what do you think it looks like?
It's all around us. I have issues with religion. Not to get preachy, my main issue is, if God is all forgiving, why would he send someone to hell, or send someone to hell? Why would they send someone to hell? I think it's more than that. I think that if there was a sentence to be passed down, if you didn't live your life the right way, maybe you get put back here until you do get it right. And then when you get it right, you go to heaven. But as far as I'm concerned, this is fucking hell, dude. We've all paid our dues here, and we react to the situations around us, and all we could do is try our best. And yeah, this is it to me, man, every day. But it's also what you make it, if you sit there and you wallow, it could be painful. If you try to make it better, then it can be tolerable, and I've always tried to make it better.
Latrice, as we close, is there anything else you'd like to bring up?
Well, actually, I was wanting to know how it was working with the documentary. This is or his name was Jason. How was it working on that?
It pisses me off because if you have the 2-disc DVD, all my good shit is on the supplemental material on disc 2. But yeah, it was great. That's actually where I met Dan Farrens, who I worked on Never Sleep Again with. And it was a blast, man. It was so much fun. And one of my favorite video clips, one of my favorite sound bites that I've ever done is from that project. And it's something that it's very special to me. It's called the Proud Freak speech, and it's something that came very much from the heart, that a fan, it resonated with them. So they sent me a video clip of it. I'll send it to you so you could watch it. It's basically just, don't dissuade your kids from loving what they love, fucking encourage them. And that was a great documentary. It was a lot of fun. All my best stuff got put onto disc too, because the co-director, well, let's just say it probably wasn't cosmetically pleasing enough for him. But, hey, fuck it. I was there and I was a part of it. And I loved every second that I have. But if you have a chance to find the 2-disc special edition, I guarantee it'll be worth your while, because there is some really, really funny shit on it. Even my bird agrees. You heard that fucker.
And don't sell yourself short, Steve. You weren't Sexy Beast.
Oh, giggity, 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 goo.
Oh, now maybe.
Yeah. But obviously we will send everybody to get the book through Amazon, all that stuff, the publisher. And I think if you go through the publisher, if I remember reading this right, you will be able to get a signed copy.
Yeah.
With the
go ahead. At first they were just it was for the first 100 pre-orders. But I was talking to them and I was like, well, how many are there? And he told me, and it's been getting a really good response, which I'm so humbled and thankful for. So I asked them, would it be cool if they ordered, number one, you get it early, you get it 2 weeks early, you get a free ebook copy, and now every copy will be signed. Because in my world, in my estimation, if someone cared enough to pre-order it to make sure they got it early, or they wanted to just guarantee their copy, then I should care enough to make sure they get it signed. So I told them I wanted everybody who pre-orders to get it signed. And that's just the way it is. It comes out December 10th. If you pre-order it from encyclopocalypse.com, again, 2 weeks early, signed, and you get a free ebook copy. And then on December 13th, I'm having a book signing. What a fucking compliment this is, at Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash on 13th. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. It's funny, like I'm probably not going to sell any books because everybody's going to have them, but I'm thankful that people will come and say hi. And even if they bought a signed copy or they got a signed copy, I'll make sure I write some stuff in there for them, just because the book is very interactive in a weird way. There's you'll see. I ain't gonna fucking ruin it. It's one of the first pages. It's guaranteed to put you in the right frame of mind to understand where you're going and where this whole thing is heading. And I hope everyone digs it, man. And I hope that it does have the ability to reach someone who needs it. And I'm always online. If they need to talk to me, text me, message me. I answer everyone back. Even at the fucking height of Terrifier 2, when I was getting hundreds and hundreds of emails and messages and DMs, I answered every fucking one of them back personally. Because again, if someone cares enough to reach out, I care enough to respond. Because it's an honor and it's humbling, and that's the way it should be.
If that don't say what the kind of person you are, Steve, I don't know what will. But thank you, sir.
Thank you.
dreadful lonely nights. I'm not alone.
Hey there, Friday fans. We know how much you enjoy the movies. Enjoy grabbing your Friday merchandise and interacting with the Friday family, whether it be at conventions or during our particular watch-alongs. Well, when you're looking to get yourself masks, why not check out our friends over at Camp Blood Customs out of New York State and order your specific custom mask from any of the films. All orders are made specifically. Your needs and wants are. Make sure you find Camp Blood Customs on Facebook, Instagram, and all over social media and order yours today.
Hey, boils and ghouls, David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown himself, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio. Choo choo!
Yeah, yeah!